The O'Reilly Factor's on tonight.
I'm not going to tell the president what to do, but I think the world would very much respect his increased attention on this matter.
The matter? America's declining status in the world. Democratic Senator Feinstein is worried about that, and you should be too. We'll tell you why.
Jorge Ramos of our sister network Fusion demonstrated the danger of the last leg in the treacherous journey across the border, swimming the perilous waters of the Rio Grande.
The border controversy continues to rage. National Guard on the way in Texas, but the kids just keep on coming. We'll have an update tonight. Also ahead, how many Americans believe there are aliens among us? How many think President Obama was born in Africa? We'll have the results of a startling new poll.
There's a Martian right behind me.
Caution, you are about to enter the no-spin zone. The Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. How some Americans are giving President Obama cover as the nation declines. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. According to all the polls, most Americans believe the USA is in trouble on many fronts, and they are holding President Obama accountable for some of the distress, but not all. The President understands many Americans are not paying attention to what's happening overseas. It's all too distant and complicated. In fact, a recent Pew poll, a majority do not even want to fight terrorists who are surging in Iraq. The question, do you think the USA has a responsibility to do something about the violence in Iraq? 55% say no, 39% yes. Apparently, many of us do not see the danger of the ISIS army, worse than Al-Qaeda, establishing a base inside Iraq, a base that could threaten the USA. The 9/11 attack was the worst thing to happen to this country since World War II. Most of us were caught completely by surprise. Few of us had even heard of Al-Qaeda back then. Well, the same thing's happening now. Most Americans don't know what the ISIS army is. They don't know that Iran is close to having a nuclear weapon. And they don't know that Israel's pretty much saying it will not tolerate a nuclear Iran, and war may be looming. New York City, right here, the media capital of the world. So we asked some of the folks who live in the city about crucial issues overseas.
Do you have any idea of what's happening in the Middle East and in Iran right now?
No. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but I don't like to pay attention to it.
Not quite sure about what's happening there.
There's the Gaza Strip and Palestine, all of that's happening. I'm more focused on though what's happening in Africa with Bring Back Our Girls, and I think that is something that's being swept under the rug by everybody.
I gotta be honest, I haven't been up to date. I've been kind of busy with my work schedule, so I haven't really been following.
There's a civil war, and Iran is under threat from Syria, who would like Iran to be, and Iraq to be, part of the Persian Empire again.
Rihanna tweeted yesterday about about free Palestine, and half the United States freaked out about it.
Sectarian war, thank you.
Who's at war?
Sunnis and who's the other one?
It's kind of, I don't know, confused over there.
Like you?
Yeah.
In this age of social media, Americans are becoming more apathetic, concerned primarily with their wallets and personal lives. Talking Points believes many Americans simply don't understand how weakness is putting all of us in danger, physical danger. In 1962, President Kennedy wrote a letter to the commander of the American Legion which said, quote, "We must be strong so that weakness does not tempt hostile nations into miscalculations." It has been encouraging to note that during the last months, our increased strength has produced more favorable tides in many parts of the world. JFK knowing that peace through strength is the only way security happens. I wish President Obama knew that. And that's a memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction. Joining us here in New York, Monica Crowley, and from Washington, Kirsten Powers. So where am I going wrong here, Kirsten?
Well, look, I don't think you're going wrong anywhere if you're saying that Obama isn't as engaged as he should be. I think that he, let's remember before the election, he had actually quite high ratings on foreign policy, and they've come down a lot, I think, because Americans feel that there's a lot of chaos in the world and that they think that he's not engaged. I would defend him on some areas, like I think he made the right decision in leaving Iraq. In other areas, I would say that he hasn't been engaged.
Wouldn't you, in hindsight, though, left maybe 25,000 American troops there? That wouldn't that have been the responsible thing to do?
Well, he couldn't do that because there was no status of forces
real
agreement.
debatable.
So
that's real debatable. Whether that could have happened or not.
Yeah,
so.
And I think there's also the problem of the fact that the American people absolutely wanted those troops out of there.
Okay, and that's
Obama
the point I'm trying to make.
in large part to do that.
I'm trying to make that point. The American people don't know what the deuce is going on in the world, and they don't. And you say?
Well, but that's where leadership comes in, because sometimes you have to do what's unpopular with your own people in order to advance and protect your nation's interests. And we don't see that happening, at least in the recent past here with the president. You played all of these clips, and I think there are a lot of things going on with the American public. First, I think they're world weary. You know, after over a decade of constant threats and war, people are burnt out. The economy has been so bad for so long, they're worried about their own job and economic status.
Valid.
But I also think, and Jesse Waters does this every week, and we all kind of have a chuckle at it, but this is a really serious issue. There are a lot of low information voters out there, people who either don't know or don't care to know about what's going on in the world and what's going on in the country.
But that gives President Obama a cover, Kirsten, in the sense that his approval rating and job approval rating is hovering around 40%. Has not gone below. It may this week as new numbers come in. But he doesn't, I don't think he's feeling pressure about ISIS army or about Iran nukes. I mean, they extend the negotiations for another 4 months by giving the Iranians, did you know this, Kirsten? They had to give the Iranians $2.8 billion. They had to bribe them to continue the negotiation. I mean, it's outrageous. Who knows that? Nobody knows it but me. You didn't know it. I can tell by your body language and face you didn't know it. I mean, but the United States has bribed Iran to continue negotiating a deal they're not going to live up to. How insane is this? And nobody knows. It's distressing me.
Was it an actual bribe, like a pile of money under the table bill?
No,
or
what it was is that
aid
they froze $100 billion in assets, and they released 2.8 of the assets if they would continue. So it's the same thing. It's a bribe. And I'm not saying that people should be like me. I make a living doing this. I'm paid to do it. But when you don't know anything, the president knows you don't know anything, and he knows there's no pressure from the public. While there is pressure on the border, everybody knows that.
I don't think that those people were necessarily representative of all Americans.
They were.
I think that there are plenty of Americans.
I told Waters. I told them to find a cross section. Don't pre-interview.
Okay.
They were.
Okay, but I'm saying I think there are Americans who are informed about what's going on, but also feel that they've seen this movie before. They've seen the United States go get involved, and they've seen how it hasn't really borne very good fruit for us, and that it actually, we were told we were going to go into Iraq and all these wonderful things were going to happen, and 10 years later,
I'm going to give Margaret the last word. But when you got a villain like Putin, when you got a villainous nation like Iran, when you got an open border falling apart, these are problems that transcend anything that we've seen in quite some time. Last word.
I think you've got two things responsible for this. Number one, the lack of presidential leadership, because, like I said, the job of the leaders to bring the country along with you, even down an unpopular road, if it's the best thing for the country. The second thing is, and this gets to what you're pointing out, the media and the media's role. People only know what the media tells them.
They don't even watch the media anymore.
When you've got a corrupt media that is protecting this president and not reporting the important stories, then how can you expect the American people to know?
Well, we know one group, BillO'Reilly.com premium members know what's going on, but everybody else, I'm worried about it. Okay, ladies, thank you. Next on a rundown, an update from the southern border where chaos continues to reign. And later, is it legal on a big Obamacare setback in the courts today? Also, strippers suing the San Diego